All right, everyone, welcome back to the Brad and Kyle channel. And today we're going to be discussing the difference between a 4-step approach and a 5-step approach and which one you should be using. Stay tuned. All right, so before we get into discussing which one you should be using, we're going to talk about the difference between a 4-step and a 5-step approach. So Kyle, if you want to take this one over for me real quick.
Yeah, I can do that. So a 4-step approach and a 5-step approach are essentially the same thing. Now I'm going to grab my ball here and we're going to demonstrate both of them for you guys. A 4-step approach and a 5-step approach, like I said, is essentially the same thing. The only thing is, in the 5-step approach, we add a little momentum step at the beginning. But once we throw in that momentum step in the 5-step approach, we're in the same positions as we would be as if we just started in a 4-step approach. So I'm going to start out with the 4-step approach here. So when doing my 4-step approach, we want, since I'm right-handed, my right foot and the ball are going to move simultaneously as I start. And this is going to help your ball get into the swing the right way, create a lot of power, and this is the right timing that we want to do. So you'll notice when I start, the first movement's going to be like that. So we're going to do our 4-step approach here. Scoot up a little bit on the approach, and here we go.
Oh yeah, that's
just like that.
Don't do a 4-step. 4-step.
Okay, so now I'm going to throw. Oh God, haven't filmed videos in a while. First shot on camera. The old 5-pin. Not much has changed in my game, apparently, even when I take a break. So now I'm going to demonstrate a 5-step approach for you guys. Like I said, it's going to be the same thing, except we're going to add a momentum step. The important part about this step is that nothing is really supposed to move. You don't want to be having any movement with your ball. All we're doing is take, since I'm right-handed, I'm going to use my left leg and just get my body moving. So we're going to do a 5-step approach here. I'm going to scoot a little farther back on the approach as opposed to what I did with the 4-step. And when I start this, I really want to try to just move my left foot forward, not too big, just a little step, and just as a little momentum step. Nothing in my upper body here is really supposed to be moving. It's supposed to stay still. And I take that first step, and then after that step, I'm getting right into what I would be doing in my 4-step. So we're going to start here, take that little step, keep going.
Oh, there we go.
There we go, bird dog.
Look at that, an extra step, got all that more power. No
yeah,
5-pin.
Definitely some redemption there. So Brad, now that we kind of know what a 4-step and 5-step approach is, what are some of the pros and cons, or how can you tell if you should be doing a 4 or 5-step approach?
Well, it's interesting because there really isn't a right or wrong way for any specific person. It's really just player dependent. And a way that you can decide if you like a 4-step or a 5-step is just to kind of trial them. Because I know you've done it where you've been bowling a 5-step approach in the middle of a tournament and something just doesn't feel right. And then you go to a 4-step and something just clicks a little bit better. And to go even further, so for example, the 5-step approach, the first step is small and all it does is just get you going into motion. That's kind of the difference. And to go to a further point, Pete Weber actually puts a 6-step into his approach, and
he does the rock back.
And it goes backwards, right? So that first step is all about momentum. So just getting some kind of momentum. Some people love that. Some people hate that. Some people have to just go directly into the swing. Other people like to kind of get moving a little bit, and then it gives them some momentum to go into the thing. For you out there, if you're deciding whether or not to do a 5-step or a 4-step, just know that they are really the same thing. It just depends on whether you want just a little bit momentum at the beginning or if you like it to be more of just like a hard start, everything go at the exact same time. The important part between the two is the push away. Now, a lot of, a very basic rule in bowling is when your push away goes as a right-hander, your right foot goes. So it just depends on if you want an extra step before that. A 4-step approach eliminates that first step and allows you to focus more on just that first push away start connection between the push away and the right foot. If you have the extra step, that's kind of the first thing that goes, and then you go into it. If you like a more momentum based, you go with the 5-step. If you like a more hard start, that allows you just to focus directly on that relationship between the push away and the right step, then that can be for you. But definitely give them both a try and see which one you like. There is no right or wrong way.
Yeah, like you said, I've switched in the middle of tournaments before, and it all has to do with timing and feel. Like I said, they're basically the same thing, so I can go back and forth. The 5-step, kind of a pro and a con, is that the momentum step allows you to kind of get going, but it also adds more variables into your game. There's more things that can go wrong if you add another step in. And that's sometimes what happens with my game. When I go to take that first step, I just feel off, whether my step's getting too far, I'm getting too far ahead of myself. When I go to a 4-step approach, it kind of simplifies everything, and I can just get the ball in his swing, and I don't have that first step to worry about. It was actually really interesting. I was working on this at, I think, the TOC, and I was having a little practice session with Parker Bone. And I was having some issues where they felt like, you know, at the very beginning of my approach, I just wasn't all there. And he was telling me, he's like, sometime in a tournament, a long, long time ago, he was trying a 5-step approach because everyone was doing a 5-step approach. And he was saying he was doing terrible, yada, yada, yada. And someone came up to him and was like, dude, just go to a 4-step approach. Get rid of that, because he was having issues at the very beginning starting. He's like, why don't you just get rid of that step? And he's like, light bulb just went off. And he said the next week he made the show, went off and crushed it and did whatever. So that was a field thing for him. Now, a lot of people still use the 5-step approach, but that's kind of the pro and cons. 5-step allows you to have that momentum step, but if you're feeling like something's a little off there and you just need to get going right away, maybe the 4-step's right for you.
And something you said about the first step is sometimes they can get a little large. And I see that a lot with people who have 5 steps. When that first step gets large, you almost have to backtrack on the rest of your steps. And in general, you want it to go from like smaller to bigger as you build momentum, you get larger steps. Well, some people, that first step, they take huge and then they have to kind of like hesitate and pause for their body and their feet to get back to normal. And that's a problem I see a lot of people have. That's a problem we've had before.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you are doing a 5-step approach and you have that first step in there, make sure it's just small, gentle, something very just small to get you going. The second thing I want to debunk is a lot of people think that a 5-step approach allows you to have more power, or it's a way to generate more power. And maybe that can be, but there are definitely some people that we are close with and we compete against that have a 4-step that create a lot of power. Guy Marshall Kent, he went to a 4-step a couple years ago and it really revolutionized his game. And he still puts as many revs on it as he did before. And he's still one of the highest power players on tour. So you can still generate a lot of power with a 4-step, which is kind of the beautiful thing about it, is you can really choose which one you want to do. There really is no right or wrong way for each one of them.
Absolutely. So guys, there's a little bit of tidbits. If you're thinking about going between a 4-step and 5-step approach, there's pros and cons to both. But at the end of the day, it's whatever feels best for you, and you can have success with both types of approaches.